Hey guys.
So, um, it's going to be a little bit of a different view today. Um, Very likely, give or take, I'm probably gonna make a couple things slightly different. Um, though, I will say, I did forget one thing. Give me just a second. Or, I just realized I was muted. I'm sorry. Let me just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Whew. Okay, there we go. Sorry that took a little bit. Forgot some stuff upstairs that I wanted to get. Okay. Right. So. Um. Sorry, you can tell I haven't done this in a while. Hey! Hey, guys. So, um. Today, as I remember correctly, as I kind of titled the stream today, carving and yeah, carving. There's going to be some amount of carving. There's going to be some amount of planning and whatnot as well. Yeah, carving and planning. Yeah, so this time I'm basically going to be trying to do a little more with regards to carving, and then, like I said, also with planning, which is honestly something that I really am trying to be able to do a little bit more of. Which essentially, the planning, because I don't expect the stream to be in this order, but I feel like the planning I would definitely want to be first, because of something very specific. So, this is a little something that I've had for a while now. For those of you that may not be aware of what this is what is called a plumb bob. So, a plumb bob is an instrument that is normally used in plumbing for kind of checking the levels of pipes and whatnot. But way back in the ancient days, like as far back as the Egyptians, this was used as a form of level for buildings. When there's, in the words of an Irish woodworking YouTuber named Owen Reardon that I recently subscribed to, in as short as he once said, this was from back in the day when they really knew how to build buildings. We're talking castles, coliseums, and crosses, all without need or want for spirit levels, or worse yet, digital levels. Because there's three things that stay the same: distance, gravity, and trigonometry. Because essentially, a plumb bob level is a big is an A-frame that is built with the plumb bob in the center, and basically gravity pulls this down, and with gravity and with this being the heaviest thing, as the level itself, the frame, as it leans, the plumb bob itself will keep pointing down, but there's a line burned into the center that helps to tell you whether or not a structure is level or not. So, with that in mind, there have been some. Because I should say that aside from doing a lot of this other crafting and whatnot, I have done some stuff recently where I've been trying to get better at my crafting, and just to get better at my designing. So. So this is where I've been keeping some amount of my recent schematics and plans. Put that right there for right now. Oh. Okay. So, now I will say that this is going to be flipped, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but oh yeah, that's completely inverted. I'll just work with this. So this is a very rough plan of what I'm going to try to do. So the whole idea is that it's literally just an A-frame, and then the plumb bob hangs directly down, the line's burned here in the middle, and as the frame tilts, the plumb bob will stay pointing down, but this line will be off kilter, and that helps out with keeping level. Now, where this is going to be, if not difficult, then just a little more nitpicky, I guess is the right word, is that I want to figure out the best way on how to make this. So honestly, is because I came up with a couple different renditions of the design for something that I would want to try, something that I'd like to do. But we're going to figure it out together for a little bit. So, I'll be honest, a lot of the stuff that I have right now is just sort of, if not subpar stock, it's just stuff that I could scavenge. So, let's see. This is part of a container that held glass, like a package that used to hold glass. So that's a bit of like knotty pine. This is some fairly thick stock that I could use. I believe this is also knotty pine. A lot of what I have is untreated pine that you'll get from like pallets or other wooden transportation containers, shall we say. But I don't know. Sorry, I got a text. From the wife. Yes, exactly. Wooden transportation containers, like crates, and like boxes that are basic and just basically like literally what the where I work, we cut glass. The glass comes in literally like the following. It is like, it is 4 of these kinds of planks made in a square with cardboard stapled on either side. It works, but that's the easiest way for me to get scrap stock like this. And that is the easiest way, honestly, to term it. Yeah, I'm also just very briefly doing some share things. There we go. So, honestly, the whole thing that I'm trying to do is, even though I'm making this out of scrap stock, I want to build this in such a way that I don't have to worry too much about fasteners splitting the wood, and I also don't want to have to worry about not so much splitting, just I don't want to overcomplicate it, because I have a tendency to overcomplicate quite a bit, unfortunately. So this I feel like would be just fine for probably the center of the A-frame. it's all checked. The size of which wood? Like this one or this? Because if you're talking about the size of the wood that I'm working with, honestly, like if I had to guess, this is probably about at least 3 foot long stock, maybe 4 foot. But a plumb bob, both? Okay, so I don't know that there is a set plan for plumb bob levels. I will admit that I haven't looked into it, but I'm kind of going a little bit off of intuition here, and my thought is, like, this way if someone wanted to create what you are making, they have the sizes. This is fair. Yeah, because this is very fair. So I think the way that I would want to do this is originally I had tried to scale my plans to possibly making it like a foot wide at the base. Because I don't want this to be too cumbersome. Because this is something that can be very useful. It's just when you build something way too big, then it's like you can't carry it around. That being said, because the thing is, from what I remember hearing tell about plumb bob levels, like these are for like, you know, like beams. These are for like buildings. So they would be at least more than a foot wide at the base. They'd be a fairly substantial triangle. But for the purposes that I'm trying to think of, so 1 foot is right out to here. So that's not too bad. But going larger, like 2 foot, this is where I think I start to see it being a bit ungainly. Because, like, say I'm making a sawhorse. I mean, I will say, like, I've had some plans drawn out, like rough plans to try to think of how to make a shave horse. Which that's something I'm gonna probably end up doing for maybe not a little while, but because, like, let me see here, because this, so funny enough, like this piece of stock right here actually is it's 26 1/4 long. So already something like this is something that would be very is perfect. Something like this long would definitely be very unwieldy. You couldn't really easily carry it. So I think maybe 18 inches wide. I think 18 inches wide might be better. And this is just to start with, honestly. Yeah. Now, like I said, I think that this would probably be good for the center of the A-frame. And and then the flat stock that I have here, I could use that for either side. Yeah, basically stuff like this right here. Yeah, now this definitely leaves something to be desired. Like, this is so much tear out on this side over here. Like, this thing looks like this thing looks like if you could flick it, it would. I'm gonna skip on this. I think I've got some better stuff down on the bottom. Because I will say, I don't want to spend too much time with the plumb bob level. I just want to at least be able to get the right parts for what I want to do and finalize those measurements, because I definitely do want to show you guys some carving. Some carving stuff that I've been working on. Okay, so we're definitely going to do this for the center of the A-frame. So I believe I mentioned before that this is 26 1/4 long. Yeah, this is 26 1/4 long, so grab a pencil over here. So (26 1/4 inch). So this will be the center of the level. This I'm gonna just I think probably pop over here, if anything. I'll deal with it later. Not that, but this I think is what we're gonna go with. I probably do want to plane this smooth, because it is a bit unrefined. Now, let's see. If we're gonna go so here's a good thing that I want to try to that I do want to impress upon anybody that might be interested in taking up this kind of craftsman making up this type of route of crafting, which is specifically you're not buying new lumber. You're going out and basically scavenging stock from the side of the road, from whatever you might find in the dumpster, even to what you might find in terms of businesses that have like free pallets free pallets, like stuff that they get from bigger companies. Like, you could go that basically they don't have to give back to a dealer. Like, if you were there are certain companies like Benjamin Moore Paint or Quikrete, their pallets will be off limits. Usually they need those pallets back. Like, I've heard of people getting in trouble for taking those pallets when they thought that they were free. That being said, you want to try to make the most of what you got, because if for some reason you don't have surplus, then that's going to be a bit of a problem. So you want to try to see if you can do like two pieces from one plank, then it definitely works. So it does require you to be a little bit anal retentive. Hey, Brennan. I am deciding on some pieces to make for a plumb bob level. Which I'll show you in just a moment. But let's see. So this is 39 15/16 of an inch long. So I know that that's getting down to the wire, but the way that this is gonna have to work. So if we're rounding to the nearest hole to the nearest inch, which is 40 inch, and we want this to be 18, half of 40 is 20, so I might not Yeah, this is always the trick, isn't it? So 39 and 15/16. Mainframe. So the base itself is going to be this. So the base itself, because just to show you, Brendan, since you just came in, this is what I'm going to be building. It's called a plumb bob level. It's a very old school type of level that goes as far back as the ancient Egyptians. The way that it works is you have an A-frame, and from the top of that A-frame in the middle hangs a string with this particular kind of cylindrical weight on it. This is called a plumb bob. The main use that I know about it, aside from this kind of level, plumbers will use this to check the level of pipes in a piping system, but it works literally by gravity. Because the plumb bob is the heaviest thing being pulled down, if the A-frame gets tilted this way or that way, there is a burned mark in the center of it that basically denotes whether you're on or off level. So the base of the plumb bob that I've finalized on is going to be 18 inches at the base. Yeah, it's essentially, yeah, it's an offshoot of a pendulum, but the thing is, it just doesn't move. It's basically like, if you think of a pendulum, imagine the grandfather clock moving, like the entire clock, but the pendulum staying rock still. Yeah, so 18-inch wide, and the thing is, I'm trying to see if I can get two pieces out of one plank, but I don't know, because if it's going to be 18-inch at the base, and this is 39 and 15/16 long, if we move it up to 40 for the nearest inch, then that is going to be, because divide this in half, it's going to be 20 inches, and then 18, because the pieces themselves have to be equilateral. I will say, this is the one part of carpentry that I definitely still need a little bit more work with, and that is dealing with math. 15/16 to decimal is 0.9375. So this catch you later, Brendan. Thank you. So 39.9375. Honestly, let's go with it. What is 39 and 15/16 divided by 2?
It's approximately 19.9687.
What is that in fractions?
It's 639/32.
What is that in a simplified fraction?
A simplified fraction is a fraction that has no common factors in the numerator.
Never mind. Okay. So for anybody that's probably gotten the idea of, oh crap, I need to be that super anal retentive about trying to get every single bit out of a piece, don't. There's just some points when you're going to be like, okay, forget it, let's just try it. But the point is, it's just because you want to try to make the most out of what you can. So if you have to do 2 cuts, you have to do 2 cuts. So these are going to lean in at a 45-degree angle. So yeah, so you could definitely use this. And I don't know how I feel about this piece because there is this large indent that's taken out because a knot used to be here and then... So I'm gonna nix that for right now. Oh, this one's better. Much better. Okay, here we go. Alright, so this is roughly the same. Honestly, this is probably 40 inch, like, on the button. Yeah, this is probably 40 inch on the button if I had to guess. Yeah, just barely. So, yeah, so for this to be 18-inch wide... Oop. Stop moving, please. So, let's see here. Okay, so the first thing to do... You know what? I will say this. I think the first cut that I should make with this is honestly going to be trimming out the bottom. So the bottom is going to be cut at a 45-degree angle. So that is where we're going to need to bring in a little something that I've actually recently modified to be much more conducive for the workspace. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, I present to you the humble miter box. The miter box is, in this case, a plastic configuration that helps you out with cutting miters or angled cuts and making them effectively. And you do so with one of these bad boys. This is a miter saw, or a backed miter saw. So, basically, you put this in the box like so, and literally you just saw it. So this is a 90. This is basically a left-hand 45. This is a right-hand 45. And then this is a similar type of 45, although this is basically like if you're cutting into from above. So this is essentially like another type of 45. But it's kind of like vertical. Either way. Oh, it's a face cut. 45-degree face cut. That's what it's called. 45-degree face cut. With that in mind, I'm going to put this here for right now, because what we're going to do is clamp this to the work surface. Okay. I'm gonna tilt the camera down a little bit so y'all can see what's going on. So, okay. So, now we got that. gonna take a couple vises, specifically good old handy Irwin Quick Grip. I think we're gonna try. Actually, you know what? I think we should be okay with 2, because then the important part is that we are going to take one of our pieces. Yep. Yeah, so essentially we're going to need to probably switch, like push this up against this side of the miter box here. Actually, let me take my mic. Move it over yonder to anywhere that is not here. Stay. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, miter box. So, we're gonna shove it up against this part of the miter box here because this will give us the most contact. And then just to double check our angles and everything, we're going to take our combination square, which basically squares up your angles at 45 and 90 degrees. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to mark out a 45-degree angle. Because essentially, if this part, if the A-frame itself is going to stand up like this on its point, then basically this has got to go. Alrighty. And okay. Now the cool thing actually about this combination square is that it actually comes with a scratch-all. This little guy right here. That's in case if you don't have a pencil on hand, but I do. Yeah. Okay, line may not be clean, but we're ready to go. So, take the piece over here, pop this over here, and we are going to take another quick grip. Damn it. There we go. There. And then we're going to attempt to secure the piece to the box. There we go. And we're taking the saw. Okay. Gotta readjust slightly. And this is the origin of measure twice, cut once. Except if you're me, you measure 3 times. Lego. Yes, I agree. Okay. Okay, either I didn't draw this angle straight or this is where I moved it a bit far. The whole point is just that because this is going to be a level, you know, you want to make sure that the cuts are level and straight. That is the only problem. Okay. Actually, and also I should say very quickly, and granted I might need to figure this out. This is a bell mallet or a bell hammer that I made myself. First attempt at making a tool. Wasn't the greatest, but with practice comes progress. Yeah, I don't think I drew this angle straight. So we're going to bop this just a little bit more. Just a hair. Because then we're going to... because in this case, it would be better to overshoot than under. Better to go over than under because you can't put back what you cut off. So, is all right. So we're gonna go ahead and just start the cut. God, I haven't used a miter box since high school. At least I think. I think I haven't. It's a lot of work. Oh! And just like that, I was finished. Okay. Cut off. There we go. Also, little hack. In case you ever need to test out stain or anything like that, keep a series of wood cutoffs like these. They're good for just putting a dollop of stain on and seeing how the wood reacts, especially if it's the same wood you're using for a project. Okay. So, we have our 45-degree cut. So the fact of the plumb bob is going to sit like this. It needs to be 18 inches, I think in this particular perspective, 18 inches on the inside. No. 18 inches on the outside. And then if we factor in the width, it is a 2.5 inch wide piece of stock, so this is a 2.5 inch board. Okay, so the board itself is 2.5 inch wide. With this in mind, so it's going to be 18 inches from the inside edge. Counter is adding that 2.5 inches will mean that it's going to be 20.5 inches wide. On the outer edge. So from outside corner to opposite will be 20.5. Inside corner to inside will be 18. Well, we're going to run with it. And you know what? If it doesn't seem to work out, then we know for the next time. You can always disassemble it, cut it down, all that stuff. The point is not every setback has to be permanent. Because it's only permanent if you make it permanent. The worst setback of all is stop trying when you feel like you failed. So, that being said, we're gonna go second verse, same as the first. Second verse, same as the first. Just flip it around and do it in reverse. Okay, so originally we used the right hand 45. So now we're going to go to the left hand 45. And I think just to try to keep things going for verisimilitude, or to keep things kind of identical, so here's how we're going to do this. So the fact that this has got an extra 1/16 of an inch to it, I'm going to align the edge here because it's a good solid, like it's a clean edge. And then we're going to replicate that onto the board here. There we go. I just did something silly. This is going to be flipped. So basically, like, we are going to take this angle. We just need to do it on the other end. Because we cut on this end, we need to just cut on this end. So in this case, if you have to, we got to just move the miter box. Even if something's going to be a little bit stressful, it'll be more worth it doing it in the end than if you didn't do it and then screwed it up. Okay, so we had it right here. Now the reason why I'm going like this is to make ease. Is to basically make ease for the cut. So here we go. Yeah, because sometimes I will say, like, I can lose track of angles and it can be a little bit confusing at times. And this end's gonna need to get grip. This is gonna need to get clamped down too, because it's bowing up a little. Okay. So this is the right hand, which is not what we're doing. I hate it when I have to, like, I will say compensating for different angles definitely does get frustrating. And then this is why you have a combination square. So remember that whole thing that I said about the about just taking the angle and copying the clean edge? Unless you get confused, if you get confused by angles or like the mirror face of angles like I do, don't do that. Because essentially, you're trying to draw the opposite. You're trying to do the opposite angle. It's like you're drawing a V, and you have to make the other side of said V. Go. Okay, let's just get this in. Come on. Alright, I don't think the Irwin's going to do it. So we're going to break out a very classic as well as nifty little clamp. Or rather vise, I should say. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Jorgensen vise. The legendary Jorgensen vise. The really cool thing about the Jorgensen is that you can adjust the screws so that it can vise down to different angles. Oh, come on. What is going on here? Yeah, why is... You know, we're going to hope for the best on this one. Because honestly, I think I don't need, I don't know that there's an inherent difference now that I think about it with the right and left facing 45s. But that being said, so the really cool thing with the Jorgensen vise, which I'm hoping can actually help me out of this little predicament. So, it's 2 threaded shafts. And then what you can do is, oh, come on. So the point is you can take the Jorgensen vise. And then so okay, let's try moving it up to this end of the miter box. I think I need to reposition the miter box, honestly. This is the other cool thing about the Jorgensen clamp. You can do that with it too. Okay, we can do this. Okay, there we go. All right. Whoop. Now we're gonna do a little hello. Can you go? Okay, I'm alive. If you just arrived, welcome. I'm about to make the second miter cut of the night. Good God. Yeah, I am going to severely neaten up my shop, I tell you. Okay, second 45-degree cut. Second cut. Okay, and these are going to be the A-frame. So, lesson of the night, guys, that I have just learned. It doesn't necessarily matter where you cut a 45 degree, from what direction you cut a 45 degree from, as long as you cut a 45 degree. You literally just turn it around, because 1 minute you have this, and then as soon as you know it, you get this. So, with this in mind, because this is farther than I've gotten on the Plumb Bob project, I'm going to put this to the side for right now and do something that's slightly more relaxing. And I'm also going to put back the Jorgensen. Yeah. Dang it. I'll get it later. So, we're going to do something that's a little more, I would call therapeutic. Oh yeah, one other thing. Do a better job than me and keep your workstation clean. So, the next bit that we're going to do kind of for the remainder of the night is I'm going to do a little carving. For some time I've been working on getting my carving techniques a little better. And this is essentially what I'm working with. I will say that the Stanley chisels that you see right here, these are honestly, it's very likely that I'm probably going to take there's probably going to be some different tools in this wrap eventually, but for right now we're just going to work with these. So this is a little piece of stock that I've been working on. Just basically been honestly carving vines and leaves. Just trying to make interconnected lines. So we're going to take, this is the more professional looking bell hammer that I've got. And then I've got some files and rasps in this paper bag over here. And then we're just going to do a little change of perspective. You guys are going to get a little bit of a closer look at the action here. Because as much as I'd like to be able to give you guys an in-depth view of what I am doing, like the carving and everything, it's going to be a little bit hard with the space constraints, but we're going to work with it. There we go. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is like, because I really badly want to show you guys. But it's just a little bit difficult with the viewpoint in the way, so I'll just take this up. I'm just going to have to take this out the vise. So the lines are unfortunately a bit faint, but this is some of the stuff that I've been doing. Because mainly I've just been doing this kind of at work on my lunch break. I'll just go to the vise on the work table, clamp this in, and just do carving stuff. It's going to take a lot of time to refine the technique, and very likely this is a hardwood. This is probably like a mahogany or something. So I guess I should be thankful then that a lot of my carving has been done honestly with a scratch awl. So a scratch awl is not normally meant for this kind of thing, but you know what? We're running with it. We are running with it. Okay. Okay. But so the cool advantage of a bell hammer is that instead of just holding it here by the handle, you can also hold it, principally you would actually hold it by the head. It gives you a little more control. So I think for right now, just to show the technique, I'm just going to try to make this line a little deeper. Actually, I'm not really going to need my gloves. So scratch awl like this isn't normally something that you would chisel with or line with, but I'm making do with what I got because it's not about what it's meant for, it's about what can it do. And because the thing is, when you think about this, when you think about human history and human evolution, when you think about Homo habilis and when that stage of evolution when we were just trying to figure out what to use to achieve a certain objective, we didn't care if what we picked up was a femur bone from a mammoth, or I don't know, a radius from a radius from a coyote or whatever. It was just hard, blunt object. What can we do with it? Okay, so just trying to get a better seat here. I don't know if this might be a little bit on the... It's a little bit on the higher side, but you know what? It's better than just sitting and stand. It's a little bit better than standing and leaning. I'd rather sit and lean than stand and lean. But yeah, so with this, so that vine I was working on right there is connected to this vine and leaf over here. So there is a type of technique that is known in metalwork that's mainly called chasing, as I remember. But chasing over your lines, as I understand it, is essentially you make a line, you carve out a line, and then what you do is you chase that line with a tool and go over it to make the indent deeper and thus more prominent. But the act of just going over it is chasing the line. This is very... The thing to understand with this is this is different from traditional carpentry, as anybody would well know, but with carpentry and building, you know, you definitely have to have technique with carpentry to even make the most basic things, like even if it's your own tools, like a stationary 45 or a square or like a 90-degree angle or even a picture frame. But to do something like woodworking is something that requires control, patience, and that's something that I'm still developing. Because, like, people like my grandfathers, specifically my father's father, God rest him, he was someone that honed his craft over years and years of repetition and immersion. And what I remember the most about my grandfather is that my father's father is a very patient man. Very patient, very quiet, very thoughtful. And, like, there were times he got angry, and when he got angry, get out of the way. But when it came to this, in all the photos I ever saw of him working, and in the times I ever saw him working, there was always a patience. There was always a patience. There was always a concentration that almost kind of tuned everything out. And that's something I hope to acquire. And the only way really to do it is through trial, error, practice, repetition, immersion, and constantly using it. It's like a muscle. If you don't work it out, you're going to lose it. Like using the Scratch-All as a lining tool. To make these lines, I just kind of am just like, okay, let me see what happens when I do this. It's literally just, let me see what happens when I do this. Let me see what happens when I put pressure like this and lean it at like a slight 45 degree. Okay, I don't have a whole lot of control with it, so let me readjust and go a little bit higher, but tap a little lighter so that I'm not making too deep of a line. Yeah. It's literally all through a lot of trial and error and practicing, and there's going to be a lot of formal people that'll probably tell me, oh, you're not doing it correctly. It's supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be the other way. And I think what separates teachers is what separates people that call themselves teachers and then real teachers is, and granted, you know, I've had a hard time of dealing with this, where sometimes, you know, I would take the book as literal, like what you learn in your textbook is literal and ideal, but the problem is the ideal is not real. It's called ideal for a reason. But that being said, I think what separates real, like people who call themselves teachers and masters versus people who are truly teachers and masters is the ability to learn and teach at the same time. Because the master has failed more times than the student has tried. One of my good friends, Matt Lemire, gave me that quote. A master will have failed more times than the student has tried, but I think what also separates the capabilities of a true master or a true teacher is that they very rarely will say, you know, that way is wrong, you're not doing it right, and I am angry with you, because I'd like to think that at least how I would say is that I'll tell you that this isn't the normal way or what people would regard as the correct way. Would you allow me to teach you? Would you allow me to pass on some of my knowledge? And maybe there are things that I don't know that I could probably learn from you with what you have noticed. Because teaching is learning again at the same time. You reinforce it for yourself and reinforce it for another person. But it all involves patience. So, like, for example, I'm going to need to exert quite a bit of patience with this because I've made this leaf, you can't really see it on camera, but this leaf right over here doesn't have enough of a point to my liking, and I want to refine that point. So we're going to do some workaround stuff, and maybe some stuff that's not exactly as advised. Like, I've heard it's a rule to not chisel towards yourself, but that depends on what you're chiseling. Because chiseling's one thing, carving's another, in my mind at least. Sometimes if you can't get it, there's no shame in saying, you know, I'll forget it and move on to something else. Because to sink all your effort into one detail is like putting all of your eggs into a very small basket. It is bound to break. So let's see here. I'm going to try to see if I can chase this stem line a little more. Don't be afraid to use a little power. It's just the control that is paramount. Okay, that was good. That was pretty good by my eyes. What I've found through at least my style of chiseling is that I'm trying to master the idea that the chisel is that the awl and the mallet are like one unit working together in conjunction with my hand. Like, they're not two separate entities with minds of their own. They are tools that are manipulated. Try to see if I can make this line a little deeper. So far it's looking a little better. Because I will say too, I am not sure like if I accidentally went a bit in like too many different directions. I probably did. Let me see here. Let me do a little bit more on this on this edge right over here. Just a second. Hey again, guys. So, my wife was just letting me know that she wanted to get ready to hit the hay. So, I'm actually putting a bit of a slight bend into this. That's not too bad, though. But I'm just going to try to see if I can get this line just a little bit more prominent. That ought to do it. Because then down into this way. Okay. So, I've definitely made the line a little bit bigger, and I will say, and honestly, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this line that's right here, and I'm going to just bring it up a little more and maybe add like 2 leaves to it and then call it here. But let's go ahead and try this out. go. I think I'll just make the leaf on this end over here. It's something that I've found very common with blacksmithing and carpentry is the idea of power, and also just the idea of commitment, because there's that old expression that comes from blacksmithing that says strike while the iron's hot, and it's used in the common vernacular too, you know, when we're like, chase the opportunity, strike while the iron's hot, go for it, commit to the bit, as they say. In carpentry and in carving, I think what I've found, at least that fits my style, is that I've come to discover that as soon as I'm saying, okay, if I'm taking too long, I need to commit. Let's commit and let's go for it. So with this, like, I've made a couple, like, I tried doing this line over here and I'm like, you know what? No, that's not working out, but let's commit to making a leaf. Let's commit to making a leaf, and we're going to make the leaf on this side over here, because I think that just committing just means that you're just going to go for it, and then you just do it. That's really all there is. Even if it's not perfect, it will always carry a grain of knowledge that you carry for the next time. And with striking power, it is really all about control, because granted, with blacksmithing, you're definitely hitting the hammer harder in certain cases, but the whole idea is, even in blacksmithing, there's still control, because if you're doing jewelry, and even if you're shaping something, you need to control where your hammer blows are going and how powerful you're hitting them for certain applications. And I've found that to be true across blacksmithing, carpentry, and I'd like to think across other disciplines. Things are related and connected. You just have to attempt to investigate and find where they could be. They may not always be present, but just dig a little and you might find it. All it just takes is that little decision to commit. Chase this line over here a little. Okay. That should probably do it, I think. I think we're going to call it there for the night, because sleep is very important. Okay. Well, guys, for those of you that stuck around, and for those of you that stuck around, for those of you that came in, who may be here, who may be not here either way, and who may even see this later, I thank you guys for coming around to the workshop. Thank you guys for coming to another installment of the shop series. And we made some good progress today. Let's keep on going with that progress. Keep on going. Keep on striving. Because it's all we can do. Just keep going. But either way, thank you so much for coming tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the work we're doing, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Good night.